Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. This video is about Genesis 3, part 4 of 5, and I'm going to continue Matthew 7. The section about ask, seek, and knock is where we left off. Ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks the door will be opened. This has implications on the parable of the 10 virgins. Proverbs 2, I believe it is, where it says to seek wisdom, to search for wisdom and insight and understanding as if searching for hidden treasure. And obviously you must knock before it is too late. That's part of what the parable of the 10 virgins is about. Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give them a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake? If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? Right? So the bread, the presence of God versus the adversity of the stones flying at Goliath. Right? The great fisher of men versus snakes who are going to bring him down, being led by snakes or, leading snakes, what have you. To snake means to cheat, people fall in the tree of knowledge, etc. So in everything do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law and the prophets. This has to do with the spirit in which it was given and the spirit in which it was received. For example, America was given in an evil spirit, and it was received by evil and shallow people. That's why they've persecuted me to the point where I'm bringing that up again in this video series. Even if no one sees these videos, it's to their extreme disgrace. Because they hate themselves, they hate their country, they hate their family. No matter how nice they try to be to each other, the essence of hating someone is persecuting Christ because you're following the orders of your nation. What is dumber than that? When you think of it, it's one of those things that you can't imagine anything dumber than that. So, which of you, if the Messiah tells attractive females to submit to him and rally to him, would tell him to shun him? Would tell him to catfish him and try to get him to settle? If you were Christ, would you want people to do that to you? Why not? It's very straightforward that the churches, the mosques, the synagogues, that the rest of the world, that they worship the devil. They don't understand the essence of all the laws and the prophets. Of all the law and the prophets. So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law and the prophets, aka do unto others what you would have them do unto you, if you're a righteous person. Keep it simple. Okay, so keep in mind that the Golden Rule makes it clear that the undeserved curse in Genesis 9 doesn't come to rest, as it says in Proverbs. Also, we'll see when we get to Genesis 9 that Proverbs 23 also corrects it, where it talks about the effects of wine, and when we couple that with the idea that Proverbs is there to help us understand the other books of the Bible, it becomes clear. And speaking of that, the next section is the narrow and wide gates. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Now, just a little while ago, I was very angry. As I was trying to reconcile Genesis 9, I knew in my heart that it was wrong. And again, I urge you to understand that I am the truth, not the Bible. I am the way, the truth, and the life, not the authors of the Bible, and not a mere book. And from what I gather, there's a way to reconcile, and there's a way to understand and interpret correctly everything in the Bible, but it's just too confusing for the world, and it's proven to be a stumbling block for the people of the world. Thus, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy where they've made it so the masses of people have found their way to destruction and not life because they're confused. And Baal is a deity of confusion. The word Bible is also a play on words for be able, and Abel was screened out. He was killed for doing what's right. True and false prophets. Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves. The wolf and the eagle are symbols of the Roman people, and they are not used differently to this day. They infiltrate indigenous people and their movements as well. The whole world is astray, but me and my parents are blameless. So again, watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves, right? The churches, the mosques, the synagogues, the other organizations, the other temples, the other institutions, the other movements. Okay, they're pretending they're the way to salvation or enlightenment or to heaven, and they're all just lying. They're all just greedy, rapacious wolves. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Again, the ground was said to be cursed, and I maintain that it's cursed. When God speaks to Noah and says that he's not going to curse the ground anymore, he's not going to flood the world anymore, that's not what is being said. Okay, there's hidden meaning there. Because of course, as Isaiah 24 says, the earth sinks never to rise again. And that seems contrary to that. Isaiah 34 as well, plus Revelation, Matthew 24, you name it. The end times. The whole world is under attack. But there's a new heaven and a new earth. And that is how, in the spiritual, mind you, that's how God keeps his word to Noah in the story. You see how there's a lot of jigsaw puzzle stuff here, a lot of tricky stuff there. Right, the snake is crafty. The Bible is by the snake, by the devil, by Baal. That's called a gospel. Go spell, right? Spell, Baal, hell, ill, the ill person's well, what have you. So again, by their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? It says, look at what they're doing. Look at what they have done. Look at their history. And look at it with reality. Look at it with truth. Don't look at it with the mere propaganda and the history books of the white man, what have you. Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. People shouldn't have accepted the boundary of not obeying God through me, especially not as people in occult Neo-Roman cultures. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus by their fruit you will recognize them. So we see, just like with the parable of the true vine, right, that you have to bear fruit. Or rather, the story of the true vine. It's a parable in its own right. You have to do the work of God. Faith without doing the work of God is empty. You get all these psychiatrists, all these crazy people like Johnny Chang, and they try to confuse that. Okay? Guy even has a tattoo of the devil on his throat. Now, to some degree, he seems like a likable guy. To some degree, he seems like a cool guy. But he is firmly in the pocket of the New World Order. He doesn't obey God through me. He's lying about God. True and false disciples. And keep in mind, people are not remaining in me, meaning they are not obeying God through me, and you should recognize that right away. So again, true and false disciples. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? And in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform miracles? And keep in mind, my name includes a lot of things, right? I'm faithful and true. I'm the Son of God, the king of all the martial art principles, and God is God, obviously the Father, who's above all, include me. I am the gate, and the Royal African Falcon top martial artist. In the Royal African Falcon top martial artist spirit, as defined by me, universal, pinpointed, moral precision, which is God's spirit. And sick scum are trying to confuse you. I can't stress that enough. Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evil doers. What they're doing is wrong. They're evil doers. They're foolish builders. In fact, the next section is called the wise and foolish builders. And that's how the chapter 7, Matthew 7, one of my famous chapters in the whole Bible ends. It makes things very, very clear. At the same time, it's still obscured to some degree. The word obscure is a play on words for Obi's cure. And Obi refers to King Hart Hut Essence Center Temple Core. And Kira Obi means black belt. Obi in the Igbo, which is Obi spelled backwards, means what I just said, King Hart Hut Essence Center Temple Core. And in the Christian context, the Christos, the Christ. The wise and foolish builders. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. right? His foundation, and we see in Psalm, his righteousness and justice. It's God's principles, what have you. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. So it's the rock, like rocking back and forth in a strategic manner, not in a kind of just rocking back and forth for good measure, but what it represents if you were to express it, say in a dance or in some kind of motion that is designed to convey the idea of the lateral movements of the Royal African Falcon martial art order, which nobody else has displayed in my lifetime. It's just me. And I'm the last one ever possible. So it says on this rock, it's on this kind of firm ground, on this firm idea, which is also the play on words for that, on this idea of dodging some brutes, swinging a weapon and outmaneuvering him and cutting his head off, stabbing his throat, what have you. And the Bible talks about Judah attacking the throat in the Old Testament as well. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Like we see the offspring of Set falling with a great crash, the offspring of Baal, the offspring of rebels. We see them waste their lives. And keep in mind that flattering lips work ruin, and a lying tongue hates those it hurts. We'll get to that when we get to Genesis 9. When Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teaching, because he taught as one who had authority and not as their teachers of the law. And because all these people think that they're teaching the law, and the law is a whole nother story, okay? The divine law is the essence of the law. To fulfill the law is to say, these rules were for this reason, right? Why not eat shellfish? Why not do this? Why not do that? Because you people don't understand what is sacred and how to care for it, and you need to be taught a certain way, is the argument that the Bible's making. The essence of the law is to obey God through me, and to masterfully do unto others as you would have them do unto you if you were morally precise, because again, my religion and God's Spirit is universal, pinpoint, and moral precision, and I've overkilled that with focused moral intensity that goes beyond everyone else, which needs universal, pinpoint, and moral precision to really come into being.